Hey guys, how are you? This is Yishai Breslauer, your host of the CRE Shark Eye Show. Hope you guys are doing fantastic. Today we have with us Rod Santomassimo. I love that name. Love it. Why? Because my mother is Italian and it rings Italian. I love that. Anyways, Rod, thank you so much for being with us.
Yishai, it's a pleasure, man. I love it already. I love your energy. And I love being here. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And you guys are going to benefit from someone who's been in the business for so many years and had dedicated his life to help others. So you don't want to miss this. You don't want to miss this. There's going to be so many nuggets today that you're going to have from a veteran, from a real person who is in commercial real estate. But before I start going on and on, Rod, if you could please give us like a 2-minute elevator pitch of what your business is about, and then we'll start getting into it.
Yeah, Yishai, thank you. And like you, I got several business ventures, but our main business, without a doubt, is our Massimo group, our commercial real estate professional coaching organization. So the fact is, most commercial real estate professionals, whether they're just starting out or even the seasoned veterans, they struggle with building sustainable business models. So we've created a series of coaching platforms, not training, but coaching, where they are in a position then to build the business or the life they desire. Our new business folks figure out how to build a pipeline to start a cash flow, to move to a mid-career process, to start creating relationships, to finally the elite brokers, those making 7 figures or more, that are absolutely out there killing it. But more importantly, although they're making a lot of money, let's also make a lot of time, create more margin in our lives. So that's what we do. We help commercial real estate professionals build the business and the life that they desire.
I'm already excited about this because I want to learn myself, and I guess everybody else who was listening to us want to learn and to understand everything. But before we go to into all that stuff, could you tell us a little bit about how you started up, how the Rod Santomassimo story?
Well, I know you would appreciate this. I was just a kid from Long Island, right? Right? Just like you.
I love it.
Kid from Long Island. And my dad was actually an advisor to owners of real estate. He wasn't a landlord rep. He was actually a first series of consulting. He was a consultant to owners. So all my summer jobs were doing grunt work on various projects, whether being a janitor for buildings in Miami, Florida, or working on a bank on Long Island and being a project person and running around, or running construction on certain properties and doing the construction. That's how I was raised. So when I went off to school and then I get out of school, I went to Duke, got my MBA, and then I said, Dad, I'll never be in commercial real estate because now I'm an MBA, I got Duke education, and I'm going to do something in the corporate world. This was as you would recognize, this was the late 80s, and we all had to go back to New York and be those corporate megatrons, right? Well, I realized within 2 weeks, this is horrible. What am I, working in a bureaucracy where people have decisions and no one listens to me? So within a year, Yishai, I found myself back into finding a commercial real estate job, a broker's job, my first ever. And that showed me the light of, man, having your own destiny and being in charge and doing deals, that was fun. That was fun. Not having an employer was even more fun. Now, I went back and forth over the 30 years. Some employers. Go ahead.
At the time, how old you were at the time?
Oh, when I was doing the first gig, I was probably in my late 20s. Yeah, late 20s,
okay.
mid to late 20s. So 30 plus years ago. Oh, gosh. And then I went back and forth from doing entrepreneurial ventures to getting jobs to, we all went through cycles. We went through the S&L crisis, and then, of course, 2001, and then more bubbles. And so over the career, I just realized in 2008, when finally the Great Recession hit, I'm never going to work for anyone else again. I'm done. I'm going to try to build my own thing, and knock on wood, things have worked out pretty well since then.
It sounds fantastic. Tell me something. What's your involvement after this whole thing? And you've went through so much, obviously. But you know what? Let me rephrase. I want to go back for a second. You said 2008. And you said that point, I wanted to go on my own. What was it that got you to decide that?
Well, it was actually decided for me. I was executive vice president for an international brokerage firm. and they said, Rod, we love you. You're gone. We're downsizing everybody. And so I remember weeks later, I was in my bed with my wife, and I looked at her and I said, I'm never going to work for anyone again. Forget it. There was no jobs anyway, so I couldn't find a job. Yes. So I said, you know what? Let's commit completely to this entrepreneurial bug that I've gone back and forth in, and let's just say this is it. So I made the commitment that regardless of what would happen, I would make it through. And yeah, the first 3 years were horrible. They were. We tried to kill all our savings. For those who don't remember, 2008, 9, and 10 were actually, I know it's hard to believe, was actually worse economically than 2020. It just was. Jobs, stock market, everything was worse.
Yeah.
So it took a long time to recover.
But tell me something. When you decided to do it, you knew exactly what type of business you were going into?
I did. I knew I had a good, I did so many things like you. I was actually a CFO of a law firm. I was COO of a public telecom firm. We took public a lot of brokerage deals. I patented a sports watch. I did a lot of things in 30 years. And I recognized I knew enough about business that I could really assist people who didn't to how to grow businesses. And that's what we do now at the Massimo Group.
Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit. What is it exactly that you help people with? Meaning they come to you, and you're particularly, the interesting part here is that you're very particular when it comes to commercial real estate. So it's like a combination of two questions: is how do you help them, and why are you focused on commercial real estate? Obviously, that's why we are talking to you, but why is it?
Well, for the most part, I could relate to commercial real estate. I was raised in a commercial real estate environment. I had commercial real estate. I had my own brokerage firm at one time, and I failed. I did several commercial real estate ventures, some successful, some failed, but I knew the industry. I also loved the fact that they were independent contractors. They were working for themselves, and they were, eat or starve. That was it. Hunt, kill. That was it. And I understood that world. I did. So I understood full commission. I understood what it took, but I also understood, because all my career working with so many brokers, why some were failing and why some were succeeding. And so I started to study that, believe it or not, and then recognize there were certain patterns to success as an independent contractor broker. And that's what we started to do.
Which is extremely exciting, and that's what I want to talk about. The patterns that you actually found and why people are failing. But out of curiosity beforehand, what type of asset classes were you doing when you were a broker? What type of stuff you were dealing with?
When I cut my teeth, it was a really weird scenario. Ishai, when I first week, this is a crazy story. In the first week of my career, an international insurance company came knocking at our brokerage door. I was working for a boutique firm, and they knew one of the principals of this insurance company. And they said, do you know anyone who knows how to run numbers? I did, because of my MBA from Duke. And they said, and knows how to read leases. And I did, because my father had me reading leases when I was like 12 years old. And he told me, if you can understand this, Rod, you understand business. Of course, I hated him and said, you got to be kidding me. I want to go outside and play. But I knew how to read a lease. I did. So within the first week, I was running around the country with an international insurance firm doing tenant rep deals. And that rolled over those deals. That insurance firm started acquiring major office properties. Next thing you know, I was analyzing, because I knew numbers, major office properties. So in the first 2 years of the business, I was doing what people thought what they would build up to. I was doing that. I was doing major investment deals, and I was doing some major real estate lease transactions, all under the guidance of a fantastic mentor senior named Bruce Lauer. But it gave me exposure to realize this was fun. This was fun.
Beautiful. When you already got to the point that you're starting now to help others, and you said there are patterns, and what you identify that got you to say, hey, I can help that? What was it?
Yeah. No, look, you're from New York, so you may know one of our, we don't publicize all our clients' loyalty because of confidentiality reasons. But sure, some of our clients say, yeah, you can use my name, you can tell my story.
No, we don't want to use names. Yeah. Unless you want to, but no.
No. I will. So there's a gentleman named Bob Knackle, who's one of the most productive brokers in New York in the last 20 years. He's a phenomenal broker, making millions of dollars. And so one day he called me because he was in my first book and said, Rod, I'm interested to see what you can do for me. And I laughed. Honestly, I said, what the hell am I going to do for this guy? He's making millions of dollars. But I learned the lesson quickly because I went up to see him. And this is true for you. It's true for me. It's true for everyone listening to the show. You don't know what you don't know. I don't know what I don't know, right? And no one can argue that. You don't know what you don't know. And so seeing how Bob was working, as successful as he was, I was quickly able to identify certain things and levers that he could, well, exponentially grow his business. And it worked. We tripled his income within 4 years. So, and I'm not talking making, 50,000 to 150,000. I'm talking, grossing 6 million to 19 million, So now we've done 20X, we've done 10X, we've done 3X for our clients, but there are always levers you can push. And look, we'll talk about the 3 basic levers. First of all, who do you serve, right? Who do you serve and what problem do you solve? You think that's an easy question. For you, it probably is. For me, it probably is. Most people can't answer that question. Who do you serve? What problem do you solve? What's the value proposition?
Can you, sorry, I'm stopping you because this is something really important. When you ask that question, can you give us an example, like a live example of someone? Doesn't have to be, meaning it could even be, hypothetical, but or theoretical, whatever you want to call that, of an example of a failure in the system when it comes to that question.
Yeah. So here you go. I serve office tenants. Okay. Can you help me on, so if I give you a 500 square foot tenant that does insurance, that's a great client for you. I didn't say that. Okay. So I give you a 100,000 square foot tenant who does law. That's a great client for you. Oh, I can't handle that. It's okay. So who do you serve? Tell me who you serve. Be as precise as you can. Describe who that person is. There's a theory of avatars, right? And knowing who that ideal client is. Like at Massimo, we have 3 avatars. We have Ned Newby, Peter Plateau, and Bob Topper, by the way, who's named after Bob Knackel. So you got to know who you're serving, and then you got to know what their problems are. So if you're a true advisor, and this is a line from Anthony Anarino, fantastic sales mind. He says, if you're truly a trusted advisor, that means number 1, you got to be trusted. And number 2, you got to give advice. So who do you serve and what problem do you solve? So if you answer that question, everyone, failure. Generically, failure, right? Problem I solve. I help them make more money. Really? You can say it for everybody. What problem do they have that you can solve? So ask yourself this question for anyone listening, no matter what you do. What are the 3 greatest challenges right now, post-pandemic, that your ideal client is faced with? What are the 3 greatest challenges that they're faced with? Now, look, if you know the client, you know the industry that you're working in, you should be able to answer that question pretty easily. And if you know that answer back to your question, if you don't know it, you fail. You just do. If you do know it, trusted advisor, you are. So does that help?
It helps a lot. When do you know, when someone comes and you ask those questions, when would you tell them, okay, you missed? Can you give me an example of like someone who told you an answer and you told them, boom, you missed. Let me show you where you missed. That's
okay. Well, look, we could do this. We could role play right now with you, or we could do what I said. When you asked me in the very beginning, Rod, tell me about what you do. I gave you a problem, right?
Yes.
Many commercial real estate professionals are challenged with building consistent, sustainable business models. That is a significant problem that's applicable to most of the commercial real estate professionals in the industry. It just is. We know that by average commission statistics, right? What do? We offer transformative coaching programs that assist them in building the business and life they always desired. Now, that's a generic statement. It is. But it makes you say, how do you do that? Well, that's what you want, right? That's what you want, to further discussion, to earn the right to the rest of the conversation. True. So if you can't articulate something as simple as that, tell me what you do, who do you serve, what is the problem you solve? If you can't answer that, you can't then create the value proposition. And from that, once you got that permeates everything. It permeates your prospecting messaging, your marketing messaging, what you're doing on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, networking sessions, speeches, lunches, everything that should permeate. It just should. It should saturate your value proposition. They don't do that. They don't. They forget that when they go out, and they just throwing out really weak, generic messaging that doesn't resonate with anyone. It doesn't. And then after that, how are you asking for business? So I got to tell you, most professionals don't ask for business consistently and or correctly. Just what it is.
It's amazing. It's just mind-boggling. Why is it you think that people really are missing all that stuff?
Well, I can say about the commercial real estate. Look, you have a vast, amazing resume, right? I have a pretty good resume as far as education, business. So all those were hurdles to get into a certain point, right? But for example, this is a true story. I was getting my back worked on yesterday, and I was asking the guys I'm working for years. I said, how long did it take you to get your license? This guy was a massage therapist. Rod, it took 2 years of education. And I started, before he could finish the sentence, I was laughing because what's so funny? So do you realize a commercial real estate professional who could potentially make millions of dollars, all they got to do is go to a 2-month course and they're done? That's all it is. So to your question, the answer is because the barrier of entry is so small that anyone can jump in, anyone, but they don't know what they don't know. It's what it is.
I want to challenge you a little bit, meaning I don't know if I'm challenging you, but just throw a thought, meaning from my perspective. And I'm quoting now Brian Tracy.
Love Brian Tracy.
Love him. And he's one of those that that shaped my career without knowing him, of course, meaning taking all these tapes. And today it's hard to keep up. It's already an old man, but it's
tapes.
but he's incredible. I mean, if you guys watch YouTubes, I have tons of tapes of his books and stuff like that. And one of his sentences that stuck with me, and I say in my course, I tell it to people, I tell it to anyone I work with who wants to go into commercial real estate, and I tell them this. It takes about 7 years to become a professional. It takes about 7 years to become a professional. So going back to what you said, it is true that you have a 2-week course, you can get some basics and you're good to go. 8-week course that I have, and in your system, whatever it is, also short systems, you can get people and different, I don't deal with brokers, for example, you guys train brokers for real. They can actually have a course, get their license, and get some training for marketing and how to do their sales in a much better, in a successful fashion. But at the end of the day, in order to really know real estate, to be able to really help their clients, they'll have to have a milestone. They'll have to be in the market for a long, for a really significant amount of time in order to be able to tell people, to really advise, like you said, advise a person. If I want to acquire now an office building and you really want to make the sale, to push it will not help. But if you come and you tell the guy, what is the problem? I want to solve your problem. And you say, listen, I have an issue with this type of tenant. He's not going to go and that's where you come in. You're going to tell them that's not your type of tenant. But you have to have the years of knowledge, and that comes obviously with experience of time. How do you put the gap on a person who's fairly in the, let's say in their second year, not much experience, have done some deals, but they get stuck? And they have done their courses, but they still need those, those milestones. What is your advice to them?
Yeah, well, first of all, you got to get a mentor, without a doubt. And look, and by the way, I would share if you're a seasoned veteran, older, I would tell you to get a mentor to show you exactly how to do social media, for example. Everyone needs mentors. They do. So, but you're absolutely right. You can know what to say on the phone, and so you get a meeting. I can tell you exactly what to say in a meeting, so you get the listing. Yeah, I can. But now you got to go out and market it, and you got to go out and negotiate, and you got to go out and figure out what's the best situation and alternative for that client. That takes experience. It just does. And so that's why we share with all our, we coach all levels of real estate. For those that are younger, we plead for them, please get a mentor, because we're coaches. We're not trainers. Training is information. Coaching is transformation. It's just what it is. But regardless, Get a mentor, because when you get that opportunity, you got to be the advisor. Now, here's the problem, though, Ishai, is that I have seen, and you have seen, inexperienced younger professionals win listings over their seasoned veterans, smarter, more educated, more experienced, greater tenure, because they leverage presence elements much far greater than their seniors. I see it every day. How does that kid get that listing? You know, well, because he's known. He's known, and the perception of that he has, that he can be trusted and he has value, or she is trusted. She has value. So I'm sharing with, I guess it's a good thing and a bad thing. You can still win listings and not have experience. You absolutely can. There are levers you can do in this market today, but that's still, you're right. Experience should trump everything else. It should.
Right. And you know, it's amazing how technology changed the whole thing. Don't you agree? How everything changed. And those people, and that's why I'm involved in prop tech, those who are still stuck behind, meaning I had to teach myself, you said I need a mentor, meaning you're right. You're absolutely right. Meaning when you go into something new that you don't know and you teach yourself, you definitely need someone to help you with, and, you know, to learn from their experience and to go and do whatever you need to do. It's not a simple thing, and you have to get that. And it's such a great advice. Getting a mentor is one of the best advices. Let me ask you this.
You know,
yeah, go ahead.
Quick example. You know, people tell me, Rod, you really know how you leverage Facebook business pages and everything else. And I don't mind. You know, 5 years ago, I didn't know how to spell Facebook. I thought Facebook was a place you would look up your ex-girlfriend from high school. I had no idea what it was. My mentor was a 23-year-old young lady, Helen Jaya, who lives in Cambodia now, by the way. And she taught me the whole thing because she knew I didn't. And so she was my mentor. And people would say, well, how can you rely on your business on a 23-year-old kid? Because she knows more than me. It's pretty simple.
Right.
So, but that's an example. So back your question, I'm sorry.
Yeah. You know what? That leads me to another thing. This is such great wisdom. I'll give you an example. I'll give a live example. Tell me what you think about that. When I hired at the time, I don't know if he's looking at me, he's a close friend of mine today. He used to be my analyst. And I wanted to hire an analyst at the time. And I put a post, and a friend of mine called. I had a lot of resumes of people. Some are not qualified, some okay, some are qualified, some are overqualified, whatever it is, you know. I get a call from a friend, and he says, I saw what you posted. I have someone for you. I know exactly what you need. I know this guy for 20 years. He said, I know exactly what you need, but he's young. And you will think he's not experienced enough, but you'll be wrong. You already made the conversation already, you know, he wrapped up the whole thing. And you have to meet him, and he's very, very smart. And I met him. He had very little experience, but he was very smart. He had knowledge. He had some experience. He was very honest. I told him, do you know how to do this? Do you know how to do that? Do you know how to do this? He said yes to what he knew and no to what he didn't know. And I asked him, are you flexible enough to learn it? Meaning, I'm going to tell you this is something that you need to build. Will you be able to actually get it done? Meaning, you'll have to learn it. Meaning, you'll have to be resourceful and go get it done. And I said, no problem. So I gave him a few assignments. A lot of times when you get that type of an employee, it's not even though he is a very big people person, he's really a people person. But sometimes an analyst, you don't need a people person many times. You need a guy who know how to do the numbers.
Yep.
I asked him, listen, can you get this done? I gave him like an assignment. I told him how I want, you know, the pro forma to be done, how the numbers should be split. Here's the split. Here's this, here's that. Here are the challenges. Come back. And he came back and he built it. And then he came back and said, that I didn't know, that I didn't know. I said, can you move that here? And you see how people are flexible on the go. But the one thing I learned from it, going back to what you said about that lady who, you know, was an expert for social media. He knew things because the new age taught him about numbers, about how to use certain type of programming, stuff that also the older guys, even the guys who went through schooling that was very similar to his 20 years ago prior to him, couldn't do it. because he learned it and he knew that. So there is a respect. Going back to what you said, there is respect to those younger generations, and we have to learn from them too and use their talents. So there's a huge advantage.
Yep. So, yep, great example. Great example. Mentors, so important.
100%. When you go today and you market it to your clients, who are you going to? Only office, retail, any broker? Who are you targeting?
Yeah, well, it really is it used to be any commercial real estate broker, period. But we've really evolved since those days 13 years ago, where now we're focused more on any commercial real estate professional. Because today we have mortgage brokers, mortgage bankers. We did an event for Chase Bank, for example. We appraisers and now investors. Look, this is the thing. What we did was, and this is where it was for me. When I was starting out in the Great Recession, my goal was not to expend all our savings. That was it. How can I not spend all our savings, keep my family afloat, my wife and 2 kids? It was a scary time. But through trial and tribulation and working like you have, working our butts off, I figured out this methodologies, we call them the Massimo methods here, that really are the pillars of building businesses. So it really didn't matter if you did office or retail or leasing or sales or finance or not. These pillars, and the same 5 pillars for any business, really, how do you prospect? That's sales. How do you create your presence? That's marketing. How do you look at your numbers? Well, that's finance, right? Pipeline, finance. How do you create these processes in place? That's operations, more company. How do you acquire, retain, attain quality talent, either full-time employees, part-time employees, outsource? For me, I have a girl in the Philippines does most of my research. That's our world today. And that's human resources. So those 5 divisions, right? Sales, marketing, finance, operations, that's human resources. That's every company. So for us, we're working, in fact, my new company is working with non-commercial real estate folks and building their businesses. So we didn't find that one niche was more important than the other. In fact, we found we now have 35 coaches, all commercial real estate professionals. It didn't matter if the coach. I had a kid in Kentucky who focused on self-storage, coaching one of the biggest landlord rep folks in New York City. And it worked like a charm because it wasn't the product type. It was, this is how we're going to build a business. Let's go and do it. And so that's what it was really about, these 5 pillars. So specialty, yeah, kind of commercial real estate initially, but really focusing on those 5 pillars.
Really, really interesting how different types of people, different types of businesses come together and they can help each other because of those 5 pillars and the systems that you've built. I'm just out of curiosity. You've dealt with brokers that are deal brokers and mortgage brokers. From your perspective, what is the main difference between them when they come to their challenges? Is there a pattern that you see that is only for that section, finance brokers versus deal brokers?
Look, mortgage brokers, without a doubt, and somewhat similar to investment brokers, but not quite. They're in a world that can be commoditized just as much as a commercial real estate broker can be commoditized, right? What's your fee? What's the rate? What's your fee? What's the rate? Broker, mortgage broker, fee and rate. I'm competing on fee. I'm competing on the rate of the finance of the sponsor. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, right? So we tend to see mortgage brokers, certainly they're more analytical. They know their numbers better. They just do. I'm not saying that's true for everyone. I'm saying in general, it was a general question. They understood finance. That's their world.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
But they struggle to understand that rate in itself is not the selling point. It just isn't. Because, right? Look, one of our clients who worked with Chase Bank, and they admit we're not the cheapest, lender in the market. We're not. But this is why you should work with us. And so they would establish, we and working. These are the 3 key reasons why you want to go with Chase versus XYZ, right? So as a mortgage broker, you have to recognize your value proposition goes well beyond your rate and goes more to do with your servicing and the support than the rate itself. It just does.
It's amazing how the origination of the loan, the process of it, to make sure you understand the lender at the same time, right? At the same time, you have to understand the sponsor or whoever comes and needs that loan, what are their needs, what are their difficulties, and to, come and bring them together and make sure the deal is happening. And you're so right. It's not only the rate versus the deal brokers that are, what do you say about them? Meaning what is their main problem?
Well, I want you to define for me what a deal broker is so I can answer the question.
Okay, no problem. A deal broker is the guy who brings you the office building. The guy brings you the office building, and you are the one who's going to acquire the office building. He's not getting you the loan. He's just bring you this beautiful PDF with all those beautiful IRRs that you have to actually check if they're real.
Yeah, well, if you're a deal broker, and we talk about this a lot, we have a thing, a theory, and we've heard it, I think, before, but we talk about the transaction.
By the way, the deal broker is the broker, basically.
Yeah. But it's also, she's living on the transaction treadmill. It becomes more of an assembly line and a production line of deals, like you said yourself, versus fully established, enduring relationships to multiple deals down the road. So you got to get people, we preach this at Massimo. If you are on that transaction treadmill, you think that you're really successful, you live and die by the market. Market goes down, transaction slows down. It just does. The treadmill stops. Market goes up. Right now, in most markets, the exclusion of New York yet hasn't caught up. Velocity's back. It's really back. It's great, but not New York. But for those just living on the deal side, you live and die by that tide. It's not a good place to be. It's not. Again, we work with those that are challenged to build sustainable, consistent business models. That's what we work with.
Beautiful. How could you define a person who comes to you, and he or she are coming to you with their problems, etc.? How could you know, because you already have that experience? How could you, meaning give them a give or take? How long would it take for you to get from this point to that point, that the goal that they're setting to themselves? Because obviously you worked with so many. How do you tell them in the beginning, where they're so scared to pay you, or they're so scared to come and say, will you help me? I have a problem. Could you help me? Because I want to know I can get to that point. Could you tell them how long would it take, or estimate? And obviously you know what the result was.
Yeah, it depends. Look, coaching, training is a one-way street. Here's a video, you go do it, good luck, right? That's training, right?
Yes.
Coaching is, hey, here's an idea, here's a concept, here's an approach. Let's try it in the market. Tell me how it works. Okay, let's make this adjustment. Let's try it in the market. Let's go from here. Let's try it at work. This is what we're going to do going forward. This is what through the thousands of iterations we've done so far at Massimo, we see this working. Let's apply it to you. So to answer that question fairly, you got to find out how engaged that individual is. And by the way, it's true with anything. The more they invest, the more engaged they are. Just the way it works. The more they invest, the more engaged they are. In fact, that's one reason we don't allow anyone to pay for our clients. If someone tells me my broker's going to pay, we do not work with them. We say, sorry, we can't work with you. Because
what does that mean? What does that mean?
You come to me and say, Rod, help me out. I said, great. What's the problem? You tell me your problem. Hey, Rod, my broker's going to pay for my coaching. You tell me that, right? I'll tell you, thank you very much. We can't work with you. Because unless you have complete skin in the game, and I mean significant skin in the game,
it's not real.
You won't engage. You won't feel the pain. You won't do the work. Look, people come to us. Look, I had an example. Someone came to us after 38 years, and he had all the designations, right? SAOR, CCM, all that stuff. And he never breached the magical 7-figure mark. Never, right? And he said, I want you to fix it. And I had to share with him, look, you've been doing this for 38 years. If you think it's going to happen in 6 months or a year, it's not. I got to undo 38 years. And you got to accept, and this is why it worked for him, you've got to accept what I share with you to do, you need to do. You need to make it happen. So when people agree to do what we ask them to do, and they engage and implement in the process, we see changes. Look, we have to do certain things, which I won't get into right now, in the first 2 weeks, and they tell us, damn, I got 4 deals, which is what we want, of course, right? Quick hits to get them to be up and running and realize it works. But then when they're with us for at least, and everyone tells us, you know what, this was like, look, we're kind of old here. I'm much older than you. There was an old movie back in my day called Karate Kid, and the thing was paint the fence, wax the car, wax on, wax off. And I told him the first 6 months, you're going to be waxing on and waxing off and painting the fence, and you're not going to like it. But in 6 months, you can realize, crap, this stuff works. And that's what everyone tells me that does our high-end project. They tell us, man, I get it. Now I see what's going to happen. So it takes at least 6 months to get it, and then it takes at least a year to a year and a half to see the true transformation of income start coming in.
That's beautiful. Rod, what can I tell you? It seems like you have, on your belt, you have so many holes of experience, each and every one of them.
I love that. I love that. Wait.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have you repeat that, because I've never heard that before, and that was awesome. Say that again.
It's on your belt. You have holes of experience, meaning every hole is experience. Hopefully on the healthy side, And,
on the healthy side.
But it means something. I heard another joke that is pretty similar on the other end. The comb is what you get is experience, meaning talking about experience. The comb is what you get after you get bold, But anyways, hopefully we're not that bold. Meaning you have much better hair than mine. But saying, looking at life and looking at at your story and what you've done and how you're helping others. I think that people are lucky to have someone on their side who has experience, who has the knowledge, who went through stuff, who's not only saying that he can help, but actually, he has real experience, real life experience, and knows the business and can actually give them tips. So it's amazing. And I loved also the way you said it, that people come in and they want a quick fix. They want a Tylenol. They want an Advil. That's what they want. And it doesn't work that way. People need to understand that you have to be all in. You want to fix your business. You want to be able to come from this point to that point. You want to move up. You want to move forward. You want to fix your problems. You want to get to the better life that you defined in the beginning. You have to do the work. You have to do the work. It sounds amazing. It sounds amazing. Tell us, Rod, if you could tell everybody that is listening. By the way, you guys can look at the links up, down, all around. You have the links. If you're listening to the podcast mode, you can go to the text and look there at the links to find Rod. But Rod, if you could tell us where people could find you guys.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you so much for allowing me to be on your show. This has been a pure pleasure and a joy. And I'm more excited because you and I are going to have conversations after this about business opportunities. So that's going to be great.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Look, and secondly, in my belt, I have more failures, notch holes, than I have successes. I absolutely do. It just happens to be this last hole has been a fantastic fit. So just understand that if you're listening to this. This last hole is a great fit. The holes before it are a lot of failures. Best way to reach me is Massimo, Massimo -group.com, or check out my latest book, Knowing Isn't Doing. It actually became the #1 book in the country upon its release, knowingisn'tdoing.com. One of those two ways, and you get in touch with us. It's been a great pleasure.
Tell me something. Is that book also can be found on Amazon?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, big bookstores around you. Yep, everywhere.
So you guys hear it. You can get it there. If you could repeat the name of the book, so everybody who just, were dozing off, for the last couple of seconds. Go ahead.
Knowing Isn't Doing.
Knowing I love the name.
Isn't Doing.
Knowing Isn't Doing. Oh, I love that name. That's a beautiful name. Knowing Isn't Doing. So you guys, make sure you hook up. And if you want to take your business to the next level, you know where to go to. Rod, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate that. I learned a lot. I'm sure people who are listening to us have learned tons. Thank you so much.
Well, Yishai, this has been all my pleasure. Thank you for having me. And to everyone else, best to you. Stay safe and be well.